Well, if you've been paying attention to the news or if you have left your house in the last week or two, you've probably noticed that you cannot find disinfecting antibacterial wipes hardly anywhere, especially if you are in the epicenter of this mass hysteria out in Washington State, which is where I am. So today we're going to talk about, should you really be buying those disinfectant wipes anyway? Are they doing what you think they're doing, and are they good for your health? We're talking to somebody that means a lot to me, my own dad, who is a medical doctor. So stay tuned. Here we go.
We are in Clearwater tonight. I'm Allison Morrow.
Hi, I'm Allison Morrow.
I'm Allison Morrow.
And I've gone to a lot of places.
On St. Pete Beach, Allison Morrow.
And now with my former Force Recon Marine husband, I'm going off-grid-ish.
All right, so I have not been using sanitary wipes for many years. In fact, I tried to get my old employer, my old TV newsroom, because I was a TV news reporter for 12 years. If you've been following the channel, you know that. I quit my TV news job back in September, started up this YouTube channel, and went to hydrogen peroxide and other natural options, but it was really, really hard to get my employer to start thinking about switching. And there are actually a whole lot of reasons that you might want to consider what you're cleaning your house with too. And that's why we're here talking to Dr. Chip Abrahamsen, who is my dad, and one of the first places I ever started my video career, Dad, right, was in your operating room. So
we even made a video in the operating room together.
Yeah, I made a music video to Tainted Love. So do you mind if we just start with a little bit on your background and how you started this journey into really understanding this issue?
I went to Dartmouth College. I majored in biology, but organic chemistry was my forte. And we're going to talk about organic chemicals. I was top of my class in organic chemistry. Then I went to medical school and did the usual, became a doctor, found orthopedic surgery. And like most doctors, I spit out what I was told was the truth. I was asleep to nutrition, which was never taught to us, toxicology, which was not taught to us. Until one day, 1996 approximately, I woke up. I had severe health problems, and I couldn't understand why the dentist was recommending root canals. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I wouldn't put cement in a tooth and drill out the blood supply and the nerve without knowing what was wrong. I wanted to get an MRI test or a CAT scan, and those were refused. So I decided to get a second opinion, and I found a book written by a dentist. And that started my journey because it woke me up, because I found out I was vitamin D deficient. Well, imagine my saying, I'm a doctor. I should know this stuff. Why didn't they teach me about nutrition? I read 43 books on nutrition that same year. And from then, kept reading and reading and reading and finding out more and more and more about the 80,000 chemicals that we're being exposed to in the United States that make petrochemical companies a lot of money, but aren't necessarily the safest things. And also about nutrition, how to protect myself from diseases naturally without having to take medications or other things. So I was asleep, but now I'm awake. And now I have the information to give to people to let them know that they can be healthy. So it's my mission, by giving my talks and being here today, to get other people to wake up, or for those that have already woken up, give them the information that they need to be healthy and happy.
If we were to get to the wipes themselves specifically, how does this translate to that? I mean, let's talk about them specifically, the chemicals that are in the traditional ones, and why are those problematic?
Let it be known that people will tell you, including professionals, oh, this has been proven to be safe. This is these wipes will kill the germs and you'll be safe. So they're addressing people's fears. And that's how doctors sell patients on medications most of the time, not by giving them the information that they need, but by addressing some fear. These wipes are very toxic. Triclosan is a great example because it was the hand soap, those pumps that were all antibacterial, and everybody was using them for years and years in the United States. And they've been banned, not just in Europe, which they were initially, but in the United States because they have a high risk. Triclosan was high risk for cancer. Any compound that has a chlorine in it is high risk for a cancer-causing drug. Specifically organic chemicals, not necessarily sodium chloride, but that's salt. But organic chemicals that have chlorides are usually high risk, including Clorox compounds. But the ones we're talking about, the wipes, are things like Lysol wipes, which is dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride, or a QUAT, QUAT, which has been proven to have reproductive damage or problems hormonally, but I believe in the future will be taken off the market because it will be proven to be cancer causing. So the pharmaceutical companies just take one step ahead. Oh, we have the newest thing, now we have this, when they know that their old product, like triclosan, is about to be taken off the market for causing cancer. Then they just get something new that hasn't been proven yet to cause cancer, but in my opinion, is very dangerous and not necessary. So if you're running out and buying wipes with dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride, I would severely caution you. You're wasting your money, and you are bringing toxins into your home that are not necessary.
We're showing some of the labels right now while you're telling us about that. And I don't think most people I know read these labels. Most people don't know that they say specifically you need to wash your hands within 30 seconds of using them. You really should avoid skin contact. And that there's a warning label on a lot of them that says that using these wipes in violation of their label, basically, or against what the label says, is a violation of federal law. So when I told some of my friends that, they were shocked because a lot of people are using these to wash their hands. In fact, I have a friend who was a journalist, lives in Chicago now, and she thought she was helping save the world by taking these wipes to downtown Chicago and just handing them out as hand wipes, and letting people wipe their faces and their hands with it. And if you read the label, even the label itself is very clear that this is something that even if you want to use them, you should probably wear gloves when touching them. And the other thing, too, that a lot of people don't realize is the labels also say that you need to keep the surface wet for several minutes, which often is not what ends up happening. So it dries out, and is it even really doing its job? Then what are the issues with antibiotic resistant bacteria, growth of more dangerous bacteria? So I want to get into that topic as well. What's the buyer beware, not just from what you talked about from the toxic effects on someone's immune system, for instance, but is it even really doing what you think it's doing anyway?
Be aware where you work that if somebody is using these wipes to wipe down countertops, etc., don't lean on them. Know for sure that the skin absorbs these compounds better than your gut. Don't get anything on your skin that you wouldn't eat. So if someone is wiped down the countertop as they're supposed to do, which is keep it wet for 4 minutes with this particular dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride, and you lean on the countertop a few minutes after that, before it's dried, that stuff is going into your body, and you might as well have just grabbed a wipe with your hand and no glove and used it. Your skin is one of the best absorbers of toxic chemicals. So keep it off your skin. These compounds are touted as kills 99.9% of germs. So I decided to figure out, based on the doubling rate of bacteria. Bacteria double every 20 minutes. How long would it take if you kill 999 out of every 1,000 germs? How long would it take if they double every 20 minutes for them to totally repopulate? And it comes out to about 3 hours and 20 minutes. And you would say, well, okay, we'll just put on some more dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride and we'll be good for another 3 hours and 20 minutes. But the problem is they leave a residue. The residue is very toxic to the probiotic bacteria, more so than the opportunistic organisms. A healthy person has 90% probiotic or healthy organisms on their skin and in their gut, and about 10% of the harmful bacteria. And if you kill 99.9% of all of those, but there's a residue of the toxic one, then the opportunistic organisms, which are stronger, will repopulate faster. So now you might be 20% pathogenic organisms and 80% probiotic organisms. And if you wipe it one more time, well, maybe it'll be 30% bad bacteria. Until finally you have an institution like a hospital who is very alarmed because they have MRSA everywhere and multiple drug-resistant organism diarrhea and Clostridium difficile, and they can't get rid of it no matter how much dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride they use. And people are getting afraid to go in the hospital because they might get MRSA, and they should be afraid because the countertops and the walls and their beds are all coated with these harmful bacteria because the antiseptics have killed the probiotic bacteria. Probiotic bacteria make humomycins. There was an article in the journal Science that shows that how important they are to protect our health. If we have 90% probiotic organisms and 10% of the bad guys, then the 90% probiotic bacteria can easily prevent the opportunistic organisms from growing by making their own antibiotics that are selective for bad bacteria. So if we have a good balance of probiotic bacteria with the bad bacteria, the opportunistic organisms, the MRSA, the Clostridium difficile, it's about 90% to 10%. And then the probiotic bacteria who make humomycins, they protect us from bad bacteria on our skin and in our gut by making antibiotics that specifically kill the bad guys and don't kill the good guys. Then we'll have good health. And as soon as we drop off and have a higher percentage of the bad guys, then we're going to start getting infections and gut problems and on and on. And these wipes are going to selectively kill the good bacteria.
So then how do you get rid of the stuff you don't want and keep the good stuff?
That's a great question. There are many non-toxic chemicals that work very well. When we sold our house in St. Petersburg about 15 years ago, the inspector for the buyer said there was mold underneath our house. And so we had to hire a certified mold remediator. And he was certified by the National Association of Mold Remediators and Inspectors. His name was Arnold Schnabel. And he was the only one within 100 miles. There are very few of these guys. But he came to our house and he said, there's no mold under your house, but if there was, it's gone anyway. We wiped it. And I said, oh, you took bleach down under the house and wiped it. And he said, oh, no, I would never use bleach. Bleach doesn't kill the mold spores. And I went, whoa, whoa, whoa. I know that I was vitamin D deficient and on, but I hadn't heard anything about how toxic Clorox was or whether or not it really worked. And so I said, well, what did you use? And he said, 3% hydrogen peroxide. It kills all the spores. And I went, whoa, I know you're going back to Orlando, but we needed to talk. He was such a nice man, 72 years old. He was trying to get out of the business. It was one of the last inspections that he did. And he used to work for NASA. He explained to me how peroxide is what's used to disinfect the space capsules. He explained to me that it was God's way, that dew, which covers the plants in the morning when when the dew point is reached, turns into peroxide when the sun hits the dew. And that's what cleans the plants and protects them from mold spores, harmful bacteria, on and on. And I'd never been told this in medical school, so I researched it, and it's true. Hydrogen peroxide at 0.5% is actually a product that is used at my hospital. It's white top. It kills just as many bacteria as the Lysol, as the dimethyl benzyl ammonium chloride, and it kills in 1 minute instead of 4 minutes. The upside of peroxide is, first, it's very cheap. Well, then why don't they use it at the hospital? Well, because they put some surfactants in and they know what they're doing. They sell the peroxide product at $1 more than the purple top benzyl ammonium chloride product. So peroxide product, the white top wipes, I could only get because I knew somebody in the right department. And so in my exam room, I have the white top peroxide, and we use those to wipe, at least in my exam room. So I'm not exposed to this benzyl ammonium chloride where I work. Peroxide kills all the bacteria, but it leaves no residue. And so the probiotic bacteria come out just fine because the peroxide is turned into water. And so there's no residue for the opportunistic organisms to take an advantage. And the probiotic bacteria just come right back and everything's fine. One of the disadvantages of peroxide is it probably has to be used more frequently. But for household cleaning, once a day is plenty. That's how God does it with plants. And I believe in a hospital, unless somebody's infected or there are special circumstances, once a day is probably plenty. There's no harmful residue to the people that come in contact with the countertops or the computer keyboard. And it doesn't hurt anything. In fact, it just takes stains away. It makes things look brighter. And you can buy a bottle of peroxide at Walmart. Well, maybe not now, for 88 cents. 2 weeks ago, I went to Walmart and restocked, and I have 8 bottles of peroxide. Well, that's 3%, and for 88 cents. And if I dilute it to 0.5%, now this entire bottle, which I can make thousands of wipes out of, has cost me about 15 cents. So these organic chemicals are very toxic. They leave a residue. They kill the probiotic bacteria. They cause problems like cancer and reproductive problems. And peroxide is just a beautiful way to go.
Well, when you see people running to the grocery store, and like my friend said, she saw somebody with 12 canisters of Clorox wipes, this is going to, save her from the impending apocalypse. What do you think about this behavior? And then we'll get into, why people should perhaps be rethinking what they're using for these sanitary purposes anyway. But just curious, like, as you see people reacting this way, what's your initial thought on that?
I just gave a talk 2 weeks ago on stress, and stress is the emotional reaction to a threat. There's a great book by Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score. And people are under stress. They're panicking. There's a threat, and they're emotionally reacting. And that leads to behaviors that are either controlling or avoiding. And so people are trying to control their life out of fear, instead of saying, wait a second, what's really the truth here? If they were to take a step back and say, I'm not going to run into the grocery store out of fear, because I know that that's going to lead to stress in my life and more disease. I'm going to get the information I need to make a clear decision about what to do. And if people are willing to, the information is available. So it's panic. The answer to the question is these people are emotionally reacting and panicking and trying to control the situation and causing themselves great harm, as most emotional decisions do.
If you just touched it once your entire lifetime, maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you're touching it multiple times a day over the course of days, weeks, months, years, then how does that affect your immune system, your body burden, the buildup of these chemicals in your system? And I think that's where scientists often have a hard time, because they are trying to keep up with all of the new chemicals that are making it on the market, and often told me back when I was a journalist that it's just near impossible for their research to keep up with the pace at which stuff ends up on the consumer market, and just the amount of work that they have to do to prove that something is dangerous could take decades. And decades after a consumer's been using something, I mean, that's going to be the make or break for a disease. It's like already too late. You've already poisoned yourself. So it really is up to the consumer to be their best advocate and to try to, be aware of this stuff, that just because, the EPA or the CDC isn't saying anything is dangerous yet doesn't mean that necessarily 50, 70 years from now that won't end up being the case. Just curious, when you tell people about this, what's their reaction? They think you've just jumped off the deep end. And then with the people that just don't really want to know about it, why do you think they don't want to hear it?
They're just like everyone else. People in the medical profession are asleep. Bessel van der Kolk, in his book, The Body Keeps the Score, would say on a functional MRI, fMRI, they're in their dorsal vagal complex. They are self-protecting. They're avoiding their fear and insecurity in life by pretending that everything's okay when it's not. And everybody needs to wake up. And the way I try and wake people up is say to them, oh, what's the leading cause of death in the United States? And they'll usually say heart disease. And then I say, well, it used to be, but now it's cancer. 1 out of 2 men are diagnosed with cancer in the United States before they die. 1 out of 2.7 women. And then the second leading cause of death, heart disease. And then the third leading cause of death, nobody gets, even the medical students. The third leading cause of death in the United States is complications from medical treatments. It's doctors killing people with their drugs, their complications from surgery, on and on. And that's how I try to wake people up. If you have high blood pressure, if you have irritable bowel syndrome, if you have autoimmune problems, on and on, you very likely are living in your dorsal vagal complex, and your vagus nerve is sending stress impulses to your body constantly because you're ignoring the truth. So I try and wake people up with the truth. And then if those few that do wake up, then I tell them, oh, you're waking up. Don't worry now. Everything's going to be okay. All you have to do is wake up.
Anything else that you'd like to add that I have not asked you about yet?
I'd like to encourage people that if you're willing to wake up, you will initially go through some suffering. You'll face your fears, for example. You'll have symptoms from getting off sugar, or from loss to sleep, from trying to research, what do I do? There's so many different things. But there are people like me that are more than willing to help, because there are so few people that are awake. So wake up and be encouraged, because God wants to take care of us every day. And once you wake up and you're willing to say, I really can't control my life, that's a big falsehood. There's no way that I can go and beat everybody out at the grocery store and get the Clorox wipes, and I don't know if that's good or bad anyway. Once you reach that humble state in your heart, then everything else is going to work out. You'll find the information you need. Just wake up by getting to know yourself.
Okay, world's best orthopedic surgeon and my only dad, Dr. Chip Abrahamsen. Thank you for being on the channel today.
I had a great time. Thank you for having me.
Again, I'm Allison Morrow. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can catch up with me there, of course, here on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when I upload a new video. And give this a thumbs up if you like this content and you want to see more of it. And please do share it with your friends, your coworkers, anyone that you think might be interested, because sometimes this material is hard to get on YouTube's algorithm to get going and get in front of people, and it definitely helps when you share it, when you like it, when you leave me a comment. It's important information to get out there and stuff that people are looking for but sometimes have a really hard time finding. Again, Allison Morrow. See you next time.